You click instantly with some people, and you cannot explain why, and you clash instantly with others, and you cannot explain that either. Ask people to describe the household they grew up in, and the shape of that early triangle, mother, father, child, keeps showing up in how they answer. One psychologist built an entire theory on the idea that this triangle, and how a child navigates it, quietly shapes the adult that child becomes. He did not stop at the triangle mattering. He gave it a specific, startling mechanism, and named it after a Greek myth about a king who never saw it coming. It is one of the most famous ideas Sigmund Freud ever proposed, and as you will see, one of the least defensible, exactly as he stated it. Freud proposed that personality forms across 5 stages of childhood, each centered on a different zone of bodily pleasure he called an erogenous zone. First, the oral stage, roughly birth to age 1. Pleasure and comfort centered on the mouth, feeding, sucking, the earliest way an infant relates to the world. Second, the anal stage, roughly age 1 to 3. Pleasure and control centered on toilet training, the child's first real experience of external rules. Third, the phallic stage, roughly age 3 to 6, the one this episode is actually about, because this is where Freud placed his most famous and most contested claim. Fourth, latency, roughly age 6 to puberty. Freud described this as a quiet stretch where energy redirects into school. Skills and friendships instead. Fifth, the genital stage, puberty onward. Mature romantic and sexual relationships, built, in Freud's account, on however the earlier stages resolved. Back to the phallic stage, because this is where Freud placed the Oedipus complex, named for the Greek king who unknowingly killed his father and married his mother. Freud's claim: a young child develops an unconscious desire for the opposite sex parent, and an unconscious rivalry with the same sex parent. In boys, Freud called the resolution castration anxiety, fear of the rival father, which the boy manages by identifying with him instead of fighting him. That identification is the actual mechanism Freud described, not simple attraction to one parent, but a child resolving rivalry by internalizing the rival's authority. Pop culture usually flattens all of this down to one line. A boy wants his mom, and that flattening drops the actual mechanism Freud was describing entirely. For girls, Freud proposed a parallel dynamic he called the female Oedipus complex, though almost everyone today knows it by a different name. That other name, the Electra complex, is one of the most repeated pop science errors about Freud. He did not coin it, and he explicitly rejected it. Freud used the word Electra only a few times, always dismissively, and argued psychoanalysis was right to reject the comparison Jung was drawing. Now the honest verdict, because across every independent line of research pulled for this episode, one thing was completely unanimous. The psychosexual stage theory, and the Oedipus complex specifically, is one of the least empirically supported parts of everything Freud proposed. Start with the evidence problem. These ideas were built almost entirely from a handful of unusual clinical cases, not from watching large numbers of ordinary children grow up. That evidence problem has names. Little Hans, a boy analyzed mostly through his father's letters, and Dora, a young woman whose own case Freud later admitted he had handled incompletely. And the framework has a deeper flaw. It can explain almost any adult trait after the fact. A tidy child becomes an anal fixation. A messy one becomes its opposite, with no independent way to test which story is true. And there is a cultural problem too. Freud's patients were a narrow slice of upper-class Vienna, not a representative sample of how families work everywhere. An anthropologist named Bronislaw Malinowski tested that directly, in a Trobriand Islands society where authority ran through the mother's brother, not the father. The rivalry pointed at him instead. In that Trobriand society, family authority ran through the mother's brother, not the father. So if Freud's claim were truly a universal law, the boy's rivalry should still have pointed at his father, and it did not. Malinowski published this fieldwork in 1927, and for decades afterward, it stood as the single most cited real-world challenge to the idea that the Oedipal pattern is simply universal. In fairness, this exact case has been argued over for a century, and later scholars pushed back hard on how clean Malinowski's counterexample really was. A later anthropologist, Melford Spiro, went back to Malinowski's own data and argued it did not actually rule out an Oedipus-like dynamic after all. And that exact disagreement, sometimes called the matrilineal complex debate, is still actively contested. So the honest summary is not simple triumph over Freud. It is that his very specific claim was never confirmed, and the one big challenge to it is itself unsettled. Here is the part worth taking seriously, because Freud's broader instinct that early family life shapes who you become was not actually wrong. Modern developmental psychology confirms it, but through an entirely different mechanism, one built on caregiver responsiveness, not unconscious desire. That framework is called attachment theory, and it did not set out to disprove Freud point by point. It simply built something testable in the same territory. And unlike Freud's original Viennese case studies, this newer research has been replicated across many different cultures, directly answering the same cultural narrowness problem that undermined the original theory. Unlike castration anxiety, which nobody can directly observe, attachment style can actually be measured using a lab procedure called the strange situation, and then tracked forward in the same children for years. And it is genuinely well confirmed. Recent long-term studies tracking children from early life find early attachment security predicting how personality functions years later. One of those, the Future of Families and Child Well-Being study, followed children from early life into adolescence and found early attachment security predicting personality years later, among the strongest prospective evidence on this entire question. Related research on adverse childhood experiences finds the same pattern. Early neglect or instability shows up in adult personality. No unconscious rivalry required. To be fair to Freud, some research on early parental conflict and later personality disorder does show a real biological link between early relational stress and adult psychological trouble. But look closely at what that evidence actually supports. Early stress shaping later personality through attachment and caregiving, and it turns out to back attachment theory's mechanism, not Freud's specific story about erogenous zones and unconscious rivalry. So, the two threads share a destination. Early childhood genuinely matters, but they arrived by entirely different roads, and only one of those roads has real evidence under it. Science here did not so much prove Freud wrong as quietly walk past him and build something sturdier in the same spot. So here's the honest line this series keeps drawing. The specific mechanism, unconscious rivalry over a parent, stands on almost no evidence. The broader claim that the shape of your early family life leaves a lasting mark stands on a great deal of it. Just not the mark Freud thought he was measuring. If a childhood dynamic in your own life still echoes today, that recognition is worth taking seriously. The myth Freud borrowed was simply the wrong map for it. Next episode, we turn to the other place. Freud claimed the unconscious speaks up on its own, not through childhood rivalry, but through dreams. This week, notice one pattern from your own early family life that still shapes a reaction you have today, and just get curious about where it actually came from. That is the honest version of the Oedipus complex, a famous story, a fragile theory, and a real, well-evidenced truth standing quietly just beside it.